So today, well, almost a week ago, I got out of the Psychiatric Clinic. I was there for 2 months, and this is why I'm wearing my big boy jacket today. It's like a celebration, I guess, into finishing up this challenging stint in my life. It was definitely one of the, I'd definitely say the most challenging things I've ever done. And I wanted to give some feedback of my experience, because I think it might be helpful for people in general who are wondering what it's like, or maybe if they want to go to a clinic, and also how they might get the best out of their experience going there. At the same time, it's, thoughts and opinions on the general state of mental health and how it's seen professionally. And yeah, I have some insights and feedback into that whole system as well, which I don't think I will share in too much detail, but it's definitely something that I'm looking to explore and to share with professionals or people who are doing research in the field of psychology or sociology and depression. So if people are willing to, or curious and want to talk more and maybe do some research on some different hypotheses and theories I have, how we could make the current treatment more effective, or if you know people who would be interested in that, then also please get them in touch. So the first thing was like this decision to even go there to the clinic. That took a couple of months and was sort of sitting in the background, and surprisingly enough, I was the one who had to approach my psychiatrist and therapist and bring up the idea. I'd heard a friend who was doing it, and sort of brought up the idea, like, hey, maybe there's this clinic thing, could that be something for me? And it took a while to get a place, but also like at the clinic, but also it took me a lot of time to even really understand, like, I really need to go there and I need to get help and be supported. A part of me really didn't want to do that. And yeah, I sort of got to this point where I was quite desperate. Almost every day I was waking up, and there's many moments where I was pushing on and really giving my best to sort of find the joy in life and, find happiness and live my dreams and all of this sort of thing. But there was also quite a heaviness as well, and it was quite common for me to have suicidal thoughts 2 or 3 times during the day. And to realize, like, okay, like somehow this isn't going away, and maybe going to get professional help is the right thing. So the first day when I get there at the clinic, I had developed like one strategy, I think, which has helped me quite a lot to start to feel more healthy, which was being true to my own wishes and desires. So even in the face of social norms, deciding to, I don't know, like right now I'm barefoot, just staying true to those sort of things a little bit in myself, and trying to put myself more forward and center, and not always, be a doormat for the rest of the world. And so the first thing that happened, when I was at the clinic, where I was told a couple of times, like, put your shoes on and don't, you're not allowed to do that. Sit back down at the table. You have to wait until 20 minutes pass before getting up. And yeah, I started to get into I think I was quite frustrated, as well as angry. I felt misunderstood, and when it came time to have the group sharing for the day, I couldn't really say anything. I was just like, no, I didn't want to say anything. That's what I said. That was already a big step for me, because normally I wouldn't have even put myself in such a situation. Yeah, and I remember sharing with one of the patients there, I want to leave and I want to be here. And, it was very interesting to get that feedback that that's actually quite common and people have that a lot. And so yeah, even the first day was very, very challenging. And I can understand why a clinic gets a lot of bad reviews, because it's such a challenging experience, and a lot of people come out of there probably feeling misunderstood or frustrated or not really seen. And I believe that's also, yeah, it's to do with the techniques and the methods that they sort of use. How's the lighting, Max? Yeah, so there was like 3 or 4 different types of therapy we had there at the clinic. We had group therapy, where we would, discuss in groups about our issues, and there would be 2 or 3 psychologists or therapists who would also partake in the discussions. We had art therapy, where we paint and then talk about our paintings, sometimes with or without a topic that was given to us. We had sports therapy, as well as like social therapy. So I want to go through and show my paintings. I think that gives we did 2 paintings a week, and that gives a pretty good journey of my experience. And yeah. So this painting was the first one I did, and it's also the most, the first one I did, and also the biggest one, which is very, very interesting because it's actually also, one of the most important. The topic that we had was the inner critic. And when I painted it, I didn't really have a concept of the inner critic and how it worked on myself and judged myself and criticized myself. But I was more thinking, I'm constantly criticizing the systems and the way the world is and the structures of the world. And there's this, it feels like to me, like I drew this pink part as like being the soul, like red and it's kind of like anger. There's a lot of anger involved in it. And then I put these teeth in the middle. It's like supposed to be a wolf, like this just wants to bite and destroy everything. And I felt like this thing was inside of me, this anger and this criticizing voice and just so much content. And one of the therapists said something very interesting. He said, there's this film, I think it's called Vagina Dentata, about, and for him he was saying, it looks like almost like a womb, and it would be very interesting to see what the relationship to my mum is, which I didn't really understand at the time. I was like, yeah, it's a bit far-fetched, but the power of the unconscious, subconscious. This next painting was me deliberating a little bit, a point in my past, as well as perhaps the time, the present, where I was really feeling like not sure where to go in life. Not really. There's so many possibilities, so many options. I have all of these thoughts that are sort of coming out of my head that seem to change the way that the world is. And I remember coming to this motive of like the moon, the stars and everything, because this is something that gave me somehow peace. And at the same time, it's like, what is this? What is life? What am I doing? But somehow coming into a peace and getting away from a neurosis a little bit. And that's what I was trying to put there with this one. This painting continues on with the motive of like the moon and the sun, and realizing that nature is something that was helping me a lot. At the same time, you can see, this is supposed to be me. I'm at this spot of being weakened and on the ground, like maybe even trying to stand up. and getting power from the earth and the rivers and the sun. And I have these different spirits here. When I was going through a really tough time, I had, you might say, like a schizophrenic type phase, a manic type phase, where I was hearing voices of like my dad and friends, and they were sort of giving me encouragement and helping me along. So that's also something that I didn't, at the time, I was also a bit confused about, and it was the first time I talked about something like that openly with the people at the clinic, starting to get trust to talk about things like that. So this was one of the topic pictures of paintings, and we had this red card that we were supposed to do something with, whatever we wanted. And for me, I sort of just chopped it up, and it seemed like in German they have this saying about following the red. What's the saying, Max? Like, yeah, so in Germany they have this saying about a red string of, like, if you can make someone understand what you're talking about, and it's like the line of thought. And this is sort of the metaphor I was going for. It's like, look, this path is the way that my life is going. There's, you know, sometimes it looks pretty, it's hard to see it and how it connects. And this is like the universe, which is just really somehow beautiful but complicated and messy sometimes. And this is like me walking along that, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I sort of like this painting. I kept up with this sort of painting style I was doing. And it's, again, me sort of realizing I have so much chaos and thoughts in my brain that, you know, somehow I want them to come out in a nice pattern and to be organized, because there's only so much time in the day, and there's things I'm trying to do, and visions and dreams, and even just normal things as well that need to be done. And I think it's quite normal in depression. You realize that more and more, though, how hard it was to find energy just to do anything, to get the thoughts sorted, to open up the post, to wake up, to cook, to clean. All these sort of normal things in life were really, really, really challenging. And this is also part of what I'm trying to put into this picture a little bit. Still coming to grips with, you know, my thoughts and feelings. This was like a very pivotal moment in my therapy, and I think a lot of the patients also had a certain pivotal moment when it's to do with like anger. And this was really hard for me to do this one, because I felt or believed, you know, I couldn't say these things. It's just too hard for people to hear. Like, no one wants to hear this stuff. So being able to share this and have people listen to it and empathize was very healing. Now, I can read some of the things I put on it. Maybe. Fuck discipline. You know, be kind, be nice, for your future. Stop at red lights. This is me being angry, I guess, about following rules. Fuck you. Yeah, there's a lot of confusion going on here. And I covered it up with this random thing that I thought was a bit nicer, because somehow I felt like it was still a little bit too harsh to show that, or I didn't want to be hating so much on the universe or myself. So somehow I was like, okay, let's be a bit nice at the end. And an insight that one of the patients had, which I found very interesting, was I drew this thing of water in this hand, and a part of me was just like, I'm thinking of this and I just want to draw it because I find it interesting. It's a thought in my head and I feel like painting it. But there was a point when I was 15 and I tried to kill myself by not drinking any water. And somehow this sort of anger towards water also, or life, I don't know if water's, yeah, I found that very interesting to see that she made that connection when I hadn't even have thought about that. Now we get back to the topic that we had, and this time it was present, past, and future. And I drew these three different paintings, or painted these three different paintings. And they all have some sort of relation to each other, but they don't really come in any particular order. And it was me trying to find a way to express how the future and present and past all seem to change based on your current understanding of events and perspectives. And it's difficult to say, you know, how things really are, or how things were, or how they will be. So somehow there's this weird symmetry between the different paintings. I'll try and put them all up at the same time. This painting represents a turning point for me in my development, I think. It was like, this is supposed to be a sort of a shaman. I'm not really sure if that comes across, but he's supposed to be getting, you know, sort of like a Super Saiyan, getting some power up here, and there's these different sort of you know, energies that are flowing through him, and his third eye, and his hair, and his heart, and everything. And yeah, I was starting to realize how much self-hate and how much self-doubt and how much negativity I had in myself about who I am and what I do and what I think and my opinions, and making this decision in myself, like, you know, I want to let all of that go, and now I'm stepping into a new phase of my life, one where I, you know, believe in myself and my ideas, try and be loving and compassionate towards myself, and to try and, I think, yeah, be a leader. So a staff here. This painting takes on a very different feel. It was to do with the topic of love and relationships. And again, it was, you know, one of the very healing elements, I think, of the therapy is just being able to have the courage to talk about emotions and share your mind and opinion, and to stand up for it. And it can be very scary to do that, but yeah, getting, yeah, just sharing sometimes things that you might not have felt comfortable to share about can be very, very healing and very bonding. So yeah, this is me exploring, you know, how love has been in my life, and maybe comparing it to how I was told it should have been growing up. This was also another topic that we had. We had these two paintings, these two black paintings that, or we could choose as many as we want. I think one is completely covered up and the other one is still a little bit left showing. I haven't really understood the symbolism of that yet, but when I was doing this, I sort of just turned my brain off, and I was having more a talk with one of the patients about things, philosophy, the universe, existence, the nature of knowing and not knowing. And I realized, yeah, there was a lot of self-doubt, and I just went with it. I just did it. And when we were after painting, we talk about them, and I was saying, you know, I don't really like how it turned out. I was trying to do a mountain and I was unhappy with it, and yeah, the feedback I got was quite interesting, you know, like people seem to like the painting, and one of my friends or patients said, hey, you know, like, this is sort of like the way you look at yourself, you know, you don't see what everybody else sees, and you have, you know, you don't really like yourself. And that was, yeah, like hearing things like that can be very life-changing, you know, when it really somehow sticks and you're like, wow, that's really true. So that's something that came out of just being sort of, again, in the moment, the flow, and then saying what I thought was sharing what I thought was a very unimportant detail and feelings, but turned out to be quite a big learning for me. So we're in a new location now because the old one was getting a little bit too dark to see. And we're entering the home stretch. And this one is again a mountain. For some reason, the mountain motive came back. And the pink for me is, I don't know, somehow like love. Like everything is love, but pink wouldn't exist without the blackness or the void. And I was like, you know, this is, I think at this weekend I was at the park with some, with a group of people, a community of people who do a lot of breathing exercises, and we hang out barefoot and just, you know, play music or spend time together. And I sort of was feeling, you know, this connectedness and intimacy, which I hadn't felt in a very long time. And, you know, I thought I was just drawing what I was feeling, what was going on, and the feedback of the therapist, you know, like, oh, that's, you know, your topic, you know, to find a place and to find a place where you belong and where you can express yourself and be accepted and be around people who are sort of loving and, you know, be loving yourself. And I didn't think of it that way really when I was painting it, but I realized how true that was and how much community and how important community was to me and how little of that I had in my life. So here's like people sitting around the fire and, you know, their spirits somehow, I don't know, being one with this mountain. So that was also quite a big one. And it was like slugs on this. It was like heaps of slugs. This one was, in the last week, like everything just went absolutely crazy. There was an incident that happened with one of the patients between us, and it totally just triggered me, like this fear and feeling of being alone, being excluded, not having a place where I belong, being rejected, not being worthy or valuable or lovable. And when I drew this, I drew like, this is me. Well, it was me, my understanding when I drew it, and this was the patient who I was thinking, oh, this person's lonely, feeling excluded. We're not unable to somehow connect. And then, you know, on further understanding and reflection, I think that's actually me, and this is essentially everyone else. Like, I was so blocked off to the rest of the world in my heart that I was unable to open up and to feel anything or receive any love or help. And I was so angry, and there were so many emotions, and anger is not even the right one, but fear, it's hard to put a word on it. It was really unsettled and out of place and alone, and all of these things came up, and I couldn't finish the painting. I just dumped all the painting out from the painting tray, whatever you call that thing, and I don't know, started messing, and I felt somehow so upset and unworthy, and I just felt like I had to throw this away. And for some reason I didn't, for some reason I felt it was important to go tell the therapist I want to throw it away and not just throw it away. And then he was like, no, you don't throw this away. This is a part of your brain or your creative work, and maybe you're going to see it differently later. And somehow that also changed something inside of me, having someone, even when I felt like what I had done was absolutely terrible. Of course the action, but also the painting, I guess representing that, you know, the way I had sort of handled myself in this situation with this patient. I was so ashamed of that and just wanting to yeah, like somehow throw myself away. And having someone say, no, you know, like it's okay, sort of changed something. And yeah, it's definitely a different style than the rest of my paintings. And I think one of the only things left that didn't get covered up by the messiness was this figure, this lonely figure who's not able to connect to anyone. Again, all subconscious, and that's very important. And then digging through that example of why that was so hard for me to be rejected, came back to that first painting, the biggest one I did, where I had an incident with my mum when I was very young, where I dissociated and sort of viewed myself from the outside. And it didn't, on the outside, it wasn't a very big experience, you know, like I climbed onto the wardrobe, and I remember Mum, for some reason, told me to come down, and if I didn't, she was going to hit me with a wooden spoon. And yeah, just this sort of, this moment of maybe not having the boundaries and respect and feeling unsafe. I think that was quite a big deal for me at that age. Maybe I was 10 or so. But I think what I realized through therapy is, we all make mistakes in the way we treat each other, but the important thing is to be able to come and to talk about it and to reconnect. And I don't think that ever really happened in my family. We sort of, I think it's very common that we give excuses for the things that we've done. Even if they're very good excuses, these excuses stop people to say, look, sorry, and to really feel it and mean it, and to have regret for that, and to open up that way for people to come together and connect on a artistic level. And yeah, Pat and I had strategies I developed in life were definitely to run away, to close off, and you sort of forget what it's like to open up yourself to heart, like to love or heart intimacy with the world and with people. So that was my journey through the paintings. I would definitely say, if anyone's thinking about going to therapy or a clinic and they feel they need that support and that help, and they're not sure what life is getting a lot for them, to do it, even though it is very, very challenging. And I would, I think I'll go into another video talking about more details of how I think the current way that people look at people with depression, and how the methods that are used, how there's room for improvement. But I would also like to say a big thank you to the team and to therapists and clinicians and social workers everywhere. I think it's a very underappreciated work in our society and very important. And without having people there, it was like one of the first times in a very, 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 very long time that I felt cared for and seen. And when people ask me how I'm going, they actually care, and they take note of the things I said the day before, and they come and check up on me, and that really surprised me, that people were interested in how I'm going, and people, actually, even though I somehow I saw the work, I had, on a meta level, I was like, I'm not so happy with this, the way that some things are going. I could understand these people are also people, and make mistakes, and they're putting their hearts and the best effort they can to try and be there for me and these other people. And I only saw that really on like the last day or two. before that I was so self-absorbed in myself, like a little child, you know. And I think if I had left that at an earlier stage, or without it, sort of having that breakthrough and that switch in perspective, I may have left still with a bit of a sour taste, you know. But yeah, I think that's such a shame that a lot of people who really want to be there and to guide and to, you know, give their love and to really try and help people, that it doesn't get acknowledged as such. So if you do go to therapy as well, try and see it from the other perspective as well. Again, yeah, thank you to the team at the clinic and to you for listening and watching this. I hope it was insightful or interesting at all. Yeah, be courageous, talk to people, share your emotions, and I wish you a lot of growth and progress and happiness and joy and love and all of that good stuff. So thank you for your time.